August 13th, 1940. RAF Kenley, a British fighter station 12 miles south of London. Air raid sirens scream across the airfield. Ground crews scramble as Spitfires and Hurricanes race down the runway, engines roaring, trying to get airborne before the bombs hit. Above them, 300 German aircraft, Messerschmitt Bf-109 fighters and Heinkel He-111 bombers approach in tight formation. This is Adelstag, Eagle Day, the opening of Germany's all-out assault to destroy the Royal Air Force and clear the skies for invasion. Britain has maybe 600 operational fighters left. Germany has over 2,500. The math is brutal, and everyone knows it. But let's change one thing. Sitting in a reinforced hangar at the far end of the runway, covered by tarps and guarded by confused mechanics, is something that doesn't belong in 1940. An F-35 Lightning II, a fifth-generation stealth fighter from 80 years in the future, armed with weapons Hermann Goering couldn't imagine in his worst nightmare. So what happens when the most advanced fighter jet ever built drops into the most famous air battle in history? Can one aircraft change the outcome of Britain's darkest hour? Or is even cutting-edge technology not enough against 2,500 enemy planes and no way to refuel? So what exactly just appeared at RAF Kenley? The F-35 Lightning II, specifically the F-35A variant built for the U.S. Air Force. And it's not just a better plane than anything in 1940, it's from a different universe of warfare. At 51 feet long with a wingspan of 35 feet, it's actually smaller than a Spitfire. But that's where the similarities end. This thing cruises at 1,200 miles per hour. That's Mach 1.6, or about 1,930 kilometers, more than twice as fast as any Luftwaffe fighter. It climbs to 50,000 feet, almost 15,000 meters, while Bf-109s struggle past 36,000. And it does all of this while being nearly invisible. Stealth. The F-35's entire airframe is designed to scatter radar waves, not reflect them. In 2020, it has a radar cross-section smaller than a golf ball. In 1940, when British radar is still tracking blips the size of houses, the F-35 might as well not exist until it decides to announce itself. Its AN-APG-81 AESA radar can track over 20 targets simultaneously at ranges exceeding 100 miles. It sees everything, marks priorities, and engages before the enemy knows they're being hunted. Here's what it's carrying: 4 AIM-120D AMRAAMs, advanced medium-range air-to-air missiles with active radar guidance. Fire-and-forget technology that locks onto targets from 100 miles away, accelerates to Mach 4, and doesn't miss. 2 AIM-9X Sidewinders for close-range combat. Infrared seekers that can track targets at almost any angle, even behind the jet. 1 GAU-22-A 25mm rotary cannon with 220 rounds, firing at 3,000 rounds per minute. That's 50 bullets every second, each one capable of shredding a World War II fighter's aluminum airframe like tissue paper. And stitching it all together is sensor fusion, a system that combines radar, infrared tracking, and electronic warfare data into one unified picture. The pilot doesn't just see the battlefield, the jet tells them exactly what to shoot and when. But here's the problem nobody talks about. The F-35 runs on JP-8 jet fuel, a synthetic blend that doesn't exist in 1940. RAF Kenley has 100-octane aviation gasoline designed for piston engines. It's the wrong chemistry, the wrong combustion profile, completely incompatible. The jet has maybe one sortie, maybe 90 minutes of flight time if it's already fueled, and then it's a $60 million paperweight. No spare parts, no diagnostics computers, no ground crew trained to fix it. When something breaks, it stays broken. And in air combat, something always breaks.
Now let's look at what it's facing. The Luftwaffe in August 1940 is not some ragtag force. This is the most powerful air force on the planet, fresh off conquering Poland, France, Belgium, and the Netherlands in a matter of weeks. They have 2,550 aircraft operational across northern France and Belgium, ready to launch against southern England every single day. The backbone of the attack is the Heinkel HE-111 bomber, carrying 4,400 pounds of bombs, cruising at 225 miles per hour or about 360 kilometers per hour. Not fast, but it doesn't need to be fast when escorted by fighters, and those escorts are deadly. The Messerschmitt Bf 109E, one of the best fighters in the world in 1940. Top speed around 354 miles per hour, about 570 kilometers per hour. Ceiling at 36,000 feet. Armed with two 7.92mm machine guns and two 20mm cannons. Experienced pilots, many of them veterans of the Spanish Civil War and the invasion of France. These are not beginners. The Germans also have numbers. They can afford to lose 50 planes in a day and launch the same size raid tomorrow. Britain can't. Every Spitfire lost, every Hurricane shot down, every trained pilot killed is one the RAF can't replace fast enough. The Luftwaffe knows this. Their strategy is simple. Destroy RAF airfields, smash radar stations, force the British fighters into constant battle until they run out of planes or pilots. By mid-August, it's working. RAF losses are mounting. Pilots are flying 3, sometimes 4 sorties per day, landing with bullet holes in their wings, refueling, and going back up. Without reinforcements, Britain has maybe 3 weeks before the math becomes impossible. The invasion barges are already gathering in Calais. Everyone knows what comes next. But then, the F-35 takes off. It's 2 p.m., August 13, 1940. RAF controllers have just detected a massive German raid forming over Calais. 80 bombers escorted by 120 fighters heading for RAF Biggin Hill and the sector airfields around London. Every available Spitfire and Hurricane scrambles, and from Kenley, one F-35 lifts off the runway, climbs to 40,000 feet in under 3 minutes, and activates its radar. The scope lights up. 200 contacts, all grouped in tight bomber formations with fighter screens above and beside them. The German formations are still 60 miles out, crossing the English Channel. They have no idea they're already being tracked. The F-35 pilot selects 4 targets, lead bomber in the first formation, 2 escorts on the flanks, and a trailing Heinkel HE-111 at the rear. The targeting computer marks them, calculates intercept vectors, and displays firing solutions. At 50 miles, still beyond visual range, still invisible to every German aircraft, the F-35 fires. 4 AIM-120D missiles streak off the rails, dropping from the internal weapons bay, igniting and accelerating to Mach 4. Each one is locked onto a different aircraft. The Germans see nothing. No muzzle flash, no tracer rounds, no diving attacker. Just 4 white contrails, impossibly fast, coming from a direction that makes no sense. The first AMRAAM hits the lead Heinkel dead center. The warhead detonates and the bomber disintegrates. Not damaged, disintegrated. Wings separate, fuselage breaks in half, debris spins into the aircraft flying beside it. The second and third missiles take out the Bf 109 escorts. 1 second they're flying formation, the next they're fireballs tumbling toward the channel. The fourth missile slams into the trailing bomber. Explosion, smoke, gone. Total time from launch to impact, 40 seconds. 4 German aircraft destroyed before a single Luftwaffe pilot has even seen the enemy. Chaos erupts in the formation. Pilots are screaming over the radio. What was that? Where is he? I don't see anything. The bombers break formation, scattering in different directions. The fighter escorts swing around, searching for the attacker. They're looking at the wrong altitude, wrong direction, wrong century. The F-35 drops to 30,000 feet, cuts through the scattered formation at 600 miles per hour, and switches to guns. The 25mm cannon opens up on a Heinkel from 2,000 feet, a range where World War II fighters would still be climbing into position. The cannon fires for 2 seconds, 100 rounds. The Heinkel's starboard wing shreds apart, fuel tanks ignite, and the bomber rolls into a death spiral. The F-35 doesn't even slow down. It climbs back to altitude, reacquires targets, and fires 2 Sidewinders at a pair of Bf-109s trying to chase it. The Messerschmitts are flying at their absolute maximum speed, 354 miles per hour, engines screaming. The Sidewinders are doing Mach 2.5. It's not a dogfight, it's an execution. Both fighters explode within seconds of each other. Their wingmen see the missiles hit, see the fireballs, and still have no idea where the attack is coming from. By the time the F-35 breaks off and returns to base, 11 German aircraft are down. The raid is shattered. Bombers are turning back toward France, jettisoning their payloads into the channel just to gain altitude and speed. Fighter pilots are reporting an unknown aircraft, Silver, impossibly fast, attacking from beyond visual range. German intelligence officers listen to the reports and don't believe them. The descriptions don't make sense. No aircraft can do what the pilots are describing. Some think it's experimental British technology, others suspect mass hallucination from combat stress. Nobody guesses the truth because the truth is impossible. The F-35 lands at Kenley 70 minutes after takeoff. It's untouched, not a single bullet hole, not a scratch, but the fuel gauge is critical. One more sortie like that, maybe 2 if the engagements are shorter, and it's done. The pilot briefs RAF command, shows them gun camera footage of missiles hitting targets from 50 miles away, of bombers exploding mid-air, of fighters that never saw it coming. The British officers watch in silence. They've just witnessed what air combat will look like in 2020. In 1940, it might as well be magic. But magic or not, they have a bigger problem. One jet, incredible as it is, can't be everywhere. The Luftwaffe has 2,500 aircraft. Even if the F-35 shoots down 15 planes per sortie, even if it runs 3 sorties before the fuel runs dry, that's 45 enemy aircraft destroyed. Devastating for morale, absolutely. A tactical nightmare for the Luftwaffe, yes. But strategically, it's not enough. Germany will keep coming. They'll lose bombers, lose fighters, lose experienced pilots, but they'll adapt. They'll fly at night when the F-35 sensors are most effective, but RAF ground control has no way to vector it onto targets. They'll spread their raids across multiple sectors, forcing the British to choose where to send their miracle jet. And eventually, the fuel runs out. But let's be honest about what the F-35 actually accomplishes. It doesn't win the Battle of Britain single-handedly. One aircraft, no matter how advanced, can't defend an entire nation's airspace for 3 months against 2,500 enemy planes. But it does something almost as important. It shatters German confidence. For weeks, Luftwaffe bomber crews have had air superiority. They've flown over Britain with fighter escorts, dropped their bombs, and gone home. Losses were acceptable because the math favored them. But now they're being hunted by something they can't see, can't catch, and can't fight. Pilots refuse missions. Bomber crews request transfers. The Luftwaffe's attrition rate, already climbing, spikes. Instead of losing 30 aircraft a day, they're losing 50, then 60. And unlike the RAF, Germany isn't fighting over home territory. Every downed pilot is a prisoner or a casualty. Every lost bomber takes months to replace. The F-35's mere existence forces the Luftwaffe to change tactics. They start flying higher, trying to get above the mystery attacker's ceiling, but they can't reach 50,000 feet, and if they try, their bombs become less accurate, their formations become harder to hold. They experiment with flying lower, hugging the coast, hoping to slip under British radar. That works until the F-35 simply drops to their altitude and obliterates the lead formations before they cross the beaches. They try night raids. That buys them a few days until the RAF fits the F-35 with enough fuel for one night patrol, and infrared sensors turn darkness into a shooting gallery. And then, after maybe 6 sorties, maybe 8 if the ground crews stretch every drop of fuel and the pilot flies conservative, the F-35 goes silent. The tanks are dry. The JP-8 is gone.
The jet sits in its hangar, a museum piece from a war that hasn't happened yet, while Spitfires and Hurricanes continue the fight the way they always have. But the damage is done. The Luftwaffe has lost over 300 aircraft in 2 weeks, far more than historical losses. Pilot morale is broken. Goering is demanding answers. Hitler is questioning the air campaign's viability. The RAF, meanwhile, is still battered, still outnumbered, but still standing. And every day Britain survives is another day closer to American support, to building more fighters, to training more pilots. The invasion timetable slips. September becomes October, and by October, the weather in the Channel turns brutal, making amphibious landings nearly impossible. So, could an F-35 change the outcome of the Battle of Britain? Not by itself. One jet can't replace 600 fighters, can't patrol the entire coastline, can't sustain operations without fuel and maintenance. But it can buy time. It can inflict disproportionate casualties. It can break the psychological momentum that Germany desperately needs to force a surrender. In the actual Battle of Britain, the RAF won by the thinnest of margins, barely holding on long enough for Hitler to cancel the invasion. An F-35, even for just 6 missions, could widen that margin. It turns a narrow victory into a more decisive one, and in a battle decided by weeks, sometimes hours, that might be the difference between Churchill's "never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few," and a negotiated peace with Nazi Germany controlling Europe. Or, what do you think?